Hello, hello, beloved. Hello. Welcome to this week's Sovereign Divinity Podcast episode. And as always, I'm excited to introduce you to my guest this week, Patricia Librado Wald-Hopkins. A little bit about Patricia. Patricia is a soul liberation guide. She's a modern mystic and soul liberation guide for women who are ready to break free from old paradigm limitations and awaken to the gifts of their infinite self so they can lead the life they are divinely designed to live. She weaves the metaphysical with the scientific, and she specializes in Akashic Records and supports her clients with various healing modalities to embody the infinite self. She is a Gene Keys ambassador and human design and astrology aficionado. She's also author of a chapter in the book Sacred Body Wisdom, Igniting the Flame of Our Divine Humanity, creator of the Infinite Self Oracle deck, which is gorgeous. I absolutely love that Oracle deck. And she's also an alchemist with essential oil, perfumes, and crystals. She's the creator and facilitator of the Metamorphix Council and creative visionary and co-founder of the School of Light. Welcome, Patricia. Hello, wonderful people. Hello, welcome to this week's Sovereign Divinity Podcast. And we are continuing our delicious conversation around light codes and light language. And today I have Patricia. Hello, my love. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
It's good to have you here. I'm excited to hear your take, your wisdom, and your journey around light codes and light language.
Oh, yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm really feeling quite bubbly with energy. So we'll see where that goes, right?
Exactly. So let's start this. I'm curious to hear. Hello. All right. So I am curious as to how this journey got activated. How did it begin for you?
Quite unexpectedly, to tell you the truth. I was participating in a group retreat, a ceremony weekend, and just really had dropped into that, the sacredness of the retreat in the space.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, this voice just came out of me that I did not recognize at all. It was quite startling to myself and to many people around me. And it really felt like it came deep from like in my my sacral bowl, and it just burst out. Like it was like it had been waiting for my whole life, I think. And
Yes.
It wouldn't stop the whole weekend because it had been stuck inside there for my whole life. And this was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was my introduction to the voice.
So you're able to speak light language, and do you sing it? Do you write it? How does it come out as?
Well, I generally speak it. Singing for me is probably maybe my third way of expressing it, where it's the speaking and then the drawing of symbols or painting, and my hands definitely, that was as a primary. Probably goes along with as much as my voice is the hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So going back to when you were at the retreat and it started coming out, how was that like? And what did you do with it?
It was like a little kid and learning to speak, and so there was a lot of probably just would be not meaningful noises, right? Like just like a child just practicing and just was just coming out, and it was excited, and it was full of creativity, and that's a lot of what my experience with my light language has been, is for creativity and for healing. And so that's what it was. It was just playful. It was just complete playful. And then there was a little bit of healing work that I had to do with it, to kind of unblock my sacral chakra and some of the other ones with it. So yeah.
These energy centers that you felt like unblocking, were you pulled there because you felt like that's where it was coming from?
Yes. Let's see how I could explain that. So I have discovered that, and I'm sure everyone has their own experience with it, that the light language can come from within my body, and it can also come from outside my body, right? There's the channeling of from the energies around you, because I'm very much an open channel. In human design, I have like 3 defined channels, and the rest are open. And so I can bring it in. But the birthing of my light language it came straight from, and I am a sacral being, so in human design, and so it came right from that area. And so I knew that my creativity had been limited a lot of my life. Like, it had been given these very strict channels that it could go in. And so this was like the opening of my more artistic nature.
Yes. Well, fascinating. Let's talk more about the channeling piece. So you have the light codes that come through your voice, through your sacral center, and then let's talk about the ones that come in from outside. Is that something that also got activated like at the beginning, or was that something that came in like as you were stepping more and more into the gift?
Both. So primarily it was me, just my sounds. And then I noticed early on that they wouldn't say that I was channeling. It was like I was channeling energies of like, I would say ancestral memories. Like, so like, and there are some things that come through that are like that for me. They're like more kind of in me, but they're not necessarily completely mine.
Yes.
And so that developed next. And then, where I've gotten and where I'm more tuning into is the channeling of energies more outside of me. So like if I'm in an Akashic group, I'm holding a space, and I will call in whatever collective needs to come through to be shared. And so it can come from a different time frame.
Yes.
Come from nature. It's just whatever is needed at that time. Does that?
Gotcha. It does. Yes, it does. And you mentioned the Akashic Records. So is it, hello, my love. Is it how, I guess let me ask you this. How does the light language, how do you use it in your life? And I think you mentioned a couple of them. But also in your business, how do you incorporate that in your service to humanity?
Okay. So in the beginning, it was primarily for me, just learning to, it's like unmasking my voice, right? I was always very, very quiet person. And so I would use it just to learn to express myself freely without like all the constructs that we put around language, because it's like pure, right? It's just pure. There's nothing overlaying on it. It just comes out as it is. And then I began to experiment with it in my business as like activations for people in my circles, like because they hadn't started to use the light language, and so I would speak to them, and then it would awaken something in them, right? And then I would also use it for the healing, and that's where I would come in with toning, is accompanied with the languages that would come, and I use it also in creativity. So it often, before I create something, it has to come in that form first, because that's the purest like form, and then I'm able to create from that. So I don't know how to explain. It's just like it activates something, and then I'm like, oh, I can do the thing now.
So I noticed that you spoke about the Akashic Records. Is that something that you incorporate into your light language? Or how do they dance together?
So the way that I use the Akashic Records is it kind of provides a container for it, a conduit for it, or whereas when I first did it, it was really, and this is just my nature too, but it was just really free form, and it was like I said, pure expression, right? There wasn't any linearity to it at all. And the Akashic Records helped create the structure for it to start to be able to make like sense or be translated to other human beings in a sense, right?
Yes.
And it also I think I don't know if I mentioned to you when I've spoken to you before, that it gave it that sacredness, the intention, the sacred intention, where in my earlier experiences with it, if it was too free form, it actually it could startle like people who heard it, right? Because it's a powerful energy, and so it's just creating the sacred space for it, and the Akashic Records does that for me. It may not do that for everybody, but for me it does.
I love that. The creation of sacred space so that the language can come through. I love that. Let's talk more about it. What advice would you give those people who are just starting to share this, or who are newly awakened in this gift? What advice would you give them in terms of like creating that sacred space? What are some ways that they can do it that are easy?
Some suggestions. I mean, I won't say strictly advice, but it all depends on your I'm just going to tap into human design too again. If you are very, if people like know you, and you're not mutable, like a shapeshifter or change, like I'm a shapeshifter. So I need a lot more structure. And so if you're like that, I can speak to that, and using, you can use just even meditation before you do it, right? So it kind of just drops you into that sacred space, into that I am here, I am present. And you can also use, if you use Reiki or things like that, you can use that to create a safe space. And I always have like a little prayer that just says, I invite only in, the energies, of the highest good, for the good of the collective. If there's any negativity or energies, may they be cleared out. And, some people will burn incense, use essential oils to clear out. So it's just all the things that people do when they're setting, sacred space for any kind of healing or transformative work, really.
I love that. Yeah. So it really depends on you and what works for you. And just, I love that. I love that you mentioned that. Even like using your breath, to reconnect to your breath, connect to your body. Breath is so powerful. Yeah. So what works for you to create that sacred space? Yeah. And I love that you highlighted the light language is pure, is powerful, is potent, is sacred. And with anything that you're calling in as that, is good to create a sacred container to work with it in. Yeah. I love that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting the call. Is there a message? Is there a light language message coming through for our audience that you like to share with them?
Yeah, that was present with me this morning. Let's see which part. I'm getting it's gonna come in 3 parts.
Okay.
One is about the earth. One is about humanity. And one little piece is about like the infinite self part, right? Because you're all those things, there's
Exactly.
there's that earthy 3D part. And I guess the I'm just checking in with there might be a little bit of me in there, just playfully weaving those 3 together. But I probably will close my eyes for this. So that's just how I can best tune in, although I do it with my eyes open too, but I feel like I need that little bit of space there. And I usually will just sort of just kind of move my body a little bit. Isha muunta ke unde hongash lema hene tai. Isha uba hene hekei. Shuno homata ala ushneme heta ush tavakendela. Ihamane hai tuku. Shuno hobai lefite ure ambastika eletashtruk pateke. Ina humber ke te ashluve tinanyo hotai to ukande bate. Shuno maheta. Lihaine humbekai, shunomohoi, ahine hendai, irka umbe, yunohomai tikisiale durevai tenedar tuta. Rute kalu rupai tu, ishtarita, lira hurta, merkete ar, tikadminite kast. Yunohugal, indekar dur la meniketa. Isha gumbai tu ishtaba ilite. Ina humbre que tai sturukurte. Ukuta en itkuta indik unga indik ak uk tik ust al tik en ik tik unk uk tik tik lu tu ist am ista me ena hunuba istka indik. 3 parts. 3 parts.
Beautiful. It reminded me, the moment you start talking, I was transported to those days where the women would gather in the red tent and the older wise women would tell them stories of the journey of womanhood. I don't know why it took me there. Like it took me straight there. And it was like I was sitting in a red tent and there was the wise woman in front of me, like beautiful white long hair, and we were all just like mesmerized by the stories she was telling us about, being a woman. I wanted to say the woman because it is like the sacred woman. Yeah.
The sacred woman. Yeah.
So interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what the light language, the capacity of it, because it's not, you never know what is coming through. And you never know what you're going to receive. And I love that. It's almost like you're receiving a zip drive, and then you unzip it and you can get audio, you can get, video, you can get just, like just symbols, like it just, there's no limit to what was to come through. Like I had no idea I was going to be time traveling like that.
Well, that's part of what I do, but yeah, I tend to time travel a lot in the different realms with people that I work with. But I wanted to speak to something about that, about the sacredness of light language and being mindful with it, because it is a vibration and it causes a ripple effect. So, and for anybody that's new to it, I mean, just think about your words. If you were angry and you just, decided you would play in it, it is a powerful amplifier of emotions. And yeah, that's part of the sacredness, is like being in a place where you feel centered and steady. If you're just playing out, just playing with it, and it just comes out in like a child, that there's not really intention behind it. But I just wanted to post that it can carry a punch, right? Like energetically. And so just being mindful with it is one of the things that I think is important.
So I think what was coming in as you were talking is that since, we're talking to listeners who, some of them might be the first time, and I don't want them to feel limited, as in like when they're not feeling their best, they can't do light language, because we know that it can actually shift you,
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay if, let's say, you're not feeling your best, if you're sad, if you're angry, you can speak light language for yourself. To support
Mm-hmm.
you. But what you are saying is that the moment you step outside and you're in that service mode, that is where you need to be conscious of what you're transmitting. Yes. I love that.
Yes, when you're in your own space and you're doing your own thing, processing your own emotions, yes, that's yours. But when you go into service, it's definitely a different different matter. So
it's so important. I feel like light language is like so important for the person speaking it, as well as those receiving it. Like you're receiving as much healing as the person who's hearing you is going through you anyways, right? And it's so powerful in that way. It blows my mind every single time. Like it's so important for us to remember not to limit it. To try to limit it. Yeah. And just let it come through however it chooses to, and not to overthink it. Yeah. So with that said, what advice would you give our listeners when it comes to stepping into that gift, sharing it with humanity? What are some things that you learned on your journey that you feel like would make their journey a little bit easier?
Well, when I first started sharing it, it was a little bit, I don't know, I don't want to use that word, but it startled people. And so what I have learned is that it does speak, it speaks more directly to somebody, to their heart, or their essence. And so if you want to share it, it's just, letting people know what you're doing and what it is. And also, I have just kept like journal with it too, just around the explorations of of it because it kind of helps you to learn to decipher what you're doing with it. So, if you have a session with yourself and a lot of stuff comes up and then you journal about it, you can start to associate the languages that come out with like the work that you're doing. And then you can refine it. So there is a level, it's like play first, just like anybody learning a new skill, right? A new thing, and use it just for your own personal pleasure, because it is pleasurable. I mean, it is. I'll just kind of putter around in my studio and just and it just like bubbly magical energy, right? But
Yes.
but kind of learning how to, there doesn't need to be structure, but if you want to amplify it and use it to manifest, you have to learn to channel it. So there's like stages. There's play and pleasure, and then there's channeling for manifestation or healing, and those require a little bit more structure to amplify it, right? Yeah.
The channeling part is basically you directing the light codes or the light language for a specific purpose. Is that what you mean by channeling? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Don't confuse it with the channeling of bringing in energies. That
yes.
Is I would say, so instead of saying channeling, creating structure for it to flow. Like a river needs the banks, right? So that it can have more direction and, actually get somewhere. But that's not always necessary, right? We're not always here to do, or sometimes we're just here to be and enjoy and feel pleasure and just play,
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, well said. Well said.
Did I answer your question?
You did, and so much more. Yeah, you were given advice so that those who are new to this, they can at least, it will be easier for them. And I love that. I think that's a very important key. You can, the more you work with it, the more it evolves. The easier it will be for you to, and the more natural it will appear for you too. And for some people, it might just come very easily. Like it starts flowing and then you just get it and you jump on it. And for others, I
love kids.
And for others, it might be, it takes practice in order to start really being in the flow of things. And regardless of how, you're being asked to flow with it, it's okay. There's no right or wrong way to step into this gift.
Yeah. And let me just add a little bit about there does come, and I've done a lot of work clearing about being visible with it. I mean,
yes,
a lot. And it's okay, right? It's okay to be shy about it. And some people are not. I mean, that's just because that's their personality. But if you're more of an introverted, I call myself kind of like a performer. Like I'll be out there on stage, and then I kind of gotta go back and kind of tend my energy and go inward. But getting support with it, even if it's just with a sister or a friend, somebody that you can just in a safe container just play. Yeah. I actually mentored with a woman this past year who's been speaking light language for like 15 years or more, Valerie Elster, and she really helps like give me high level confirmation of what I for a long time thought was maybe just babble.
Yes. Yeah.
And so
I mean that.
Yeah.
I love that. Finding someone that you trust who can just hold the space for you to explore. I love that. I think it's very important. Yeah. It's very important because, of course, if you're one of those who just jump in and goes for it and you don't care, it's perfect. Exactly. But if you're an introvert, if you, a hermit, if you're, and this is like new for you where you have to step out, it can be quite a challenge. And so finding someone that you can trust and start in there, I think is so important. Yeah. Beautiful. Great advice, my love. Well, thank you so much, Patricia, for joining me in this conversation. And thank you for sharing that beautiful wisdom that you, through the light language that literally time traveled me to the days of the red tent. That's what I saw. But thank you for blessing us with your presence and your wisdom. Yeah, thank you for being here with me. And for you, audience and listeners, thank you for joining me for another week of this delicious discussion. If you have any questions, let me know. And real quick, Patricia, what is a best way for people to find you and work with you?
So I am on Instagram as I think Patricia Wald-Hopkins is I'm on there, and I'm on Facebook as well. And also, well, I'm kind of building a new website, but I think probably Facebook's the easiest way right now. Probably.
There we go. Okay. And I'll have the link in the show notes, so don't worry, you'll find it there, and you can click on it and get in touch with Patricia. And we would love to hear from you. Yeah, we would love to hear from you. What did you get from this podcast episode? What resonated with you? What questions do you have? We'd love to hear from you. So don't be shy. And again, thank you for listening. And until next time, from our hearts to yours. Bye, everyone.
Are you a leader, way shower, and a visionary who has an amazing, miraculous story that changed your life in a positive way? And are you ready to share this story and become a #1 best-selling author? If this is you, I would like to feature you in my new book, Miraculous, Extraordinary Stories from Leaders, Wayshowers, and Visionaries that Activate and Instills Hope. If this is you and you have a miraculous story to tell, I want to feature you in my book. I want to publish your story. So go ahead and find the link at the bottom of the show notes. Click to apply to become a contributor in my book.